Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stampin' Chat. I am Gina from Gina K Designs, and it's great to see you coming in from all over the United States and all over the world. I love our Wednesday lunchtime lives because so many of our European friends and Australian friends get to join us. Sometimes when we're on at night, people are sleeping. It's the middle of the night. So it's great to have this time of day to get together. So today I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can perfectly center your stamped images when you're using a die cutting machine. Now, I know I've showed you the one way lots of times, but just in case you're new to Gina K Designs or this is your first live, I am going to show that way first, and then I'm going to show you another way. And the second way I really like for mass producing. I also really like it for layering stamps. And I know a lot of you are, maybe when it comes to layering stamps, it feels a little daunting, like, oh, I don't know how to line these up perfectly. And every time I do it, it's different. And it never feels like I'm nailing it right in the center. Well, this technique is going to help you with your layering stamps as well. So welcome, welcome, everyone. I'm just giving people a chance to get here. I will tell you about the stamp set I'm going to use today. I'm going to use this one. This is from the new Winter Whimsy kit. This is the Starflower stamp set. And this is a stamp set that my daughter Alicia drew for us. She designed this. And it's got actually 3 steps. So it's got this large flower. And then it's got this accent flower right here. And then it's got all these little dots and a dotted center. This one is a little tricky to line up using a block. Well, not really. I mean, you can practice it and you can get it right with your MISTI. But I'm going to show you how to do it in a quick and easy way so that if you want to mass produce and you want to stamp out 100 of these in record time and have each one of them be absolutely perfect, this technique is for you. Now, the other stamp set I'm going to use, I'm just going to grab a stamp set from the kit, from the Hygge Time stamp set. I'll take either the snowman or maybe the puppy or something like that just to show you the first technique, just in case you haven't seen me do it before. All right, well, it looks like lots of you are jumping in here. I see a lot of you here. Okay, so why don't we get started? And I'll show you this up close, this stamp set here. So once again, this is the Starflower stamp set. And it's got these 3 images. They're solid images. That's another thing with layering stamps is a lot of them are solid images. Well, most of them are. And sometimes you want to double stamp to get the image a little bit darker or deeper or more solid. And that's very difficult to do too. So this technique is going to allow you to also double stamp if you don't get a solid image. It's going to nail it right in the center of your die cut. And it's going to allow for all of the images to be perfectly lined up. Okay, now the other stamp set, once again, this is the Hygge Time. And I'm going to just pick one of the, I think I'll do the snowman just because it's super easy. And I think that will get us the technique so you guys know the first technique. Now, I know a lot of you have seen me do this one before, but I want to do it because I want to keep it all in one video in case we have new people out there that are watching us for the first time or they're searching for tips and tricks on how to line up stamps with their dies and get that perfect little edge. So it'll all be in one video. So bear with me if you've seen this technique a couple thousand times. We'll do this one first. We'll get it out of the way, and then I'll show you the really cool one for layering stamps and stuff. Okay. So I'm going to start by inking up this stamp with a little bit of black Onyx ink. And I do get the question a lot. You see that? I took my glasses off and now I double stamped them.
Hygge.
Actually, that looks kind of cute. It looks like a little shadow, but I'm going to stamp them one more time. So I get this question a lot about what kind of ink I use with my colored pencils when I'm using Gamsol. And the ink that I tend to go to a lot for colored pencils is the black Onyx ink. We do have our amalgam black ink, and the amalgam black ink is great for colored pencils. It's also great for Copic markers, as is the black onyx. But the one thing that black onyx can't do that amalgam ink can do is watercolor. And now a lot of people are doing more mixed media style coloring where they might want to watercolor the background. They may want to add Copic marker details and then color with colored pencils and Gamsol. And if you use the amalgam ink, you don't have to worry. Every coloring medium will work and it's not going to smear. Okay, so I have this little guy designed. Now what I'm going to do is let's get the die cutting machine. And we'll start with this technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of cardstock, and here I have a piece of our Gina K Designs Dusty Rose cardstock. I like this cardstock because it's a mid-weight cardstock. It's 90 pounds, a little bit lighter than our regular heavy base weight cardstock. I like that for this kind of technique because I feel like it doesn't make it too bulky, but you can use any cardstock. The only cardstock I don't recommend you using is white cardstock. Use a color because you want to be able to see the white edge around the outside. Okay, so there we go. I have cut this out, and this is my template. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the template on top of this snowman. And I'm going to get it so that all the white edges look perfect to me. So take your time with this part. You don't have to rush. Let me get a little bit of purple tape here. This isn't purple tape. It is a purple color tape. It's just some washi that I have. So you want to take your time and you want to get this exactly the way you want it. So just, finagle it around a little bit until that white edge looks the way you want it to look. There we go. And then just tape it down onto your white piece of cardstock. And then I always extend the tape a little just to hold everything in place. Okay. So now the next thing you're going to do is take the die and drop it down into the hole that you've created. You'll feel it snap into place. Now, I like to add a little bit of tape to the outside of the die just to hold it in place in case it shifts when you run the plates through. And then now that you've got it in place, you know it's going to cut because it's sunk down into the hole. And there you go. So you've got that nice little white edge going around the outside. It's especially nice to do this when you have images like this. This is a ball of yarn with knitting needles. These are so skinny. And so the die is very skinny going around the outside of that. And it's really easy to cut that off. Same with these pencils and the pen and the paintbrush, maybe the crochet hook, any kind of images like that. It really cuts it perfectly. So that's the first method. Now, here's where some of the fun comes in. Something new to show you. Okay. So I've seen people use their MISTI to line things up, and that does work nicely to use your MISTI when you're stamping layers and to be able to turn and position your stamps. That's all well and good, but if you don't have the stamp perfectly in position or you don't know where to put it, it makes it more difficult for you to nail it. Even if, the stamp is going to stamp in the same place every time, could still stamp in the wrong place. So let me show you how to combat that. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of white cardstock or whatever color cardstock you want your die cut images to be. So I am going to use this flower image because this is what I want to cut. And I also want to cut some of the leaves. All right. So I'm going to cut a few of these out of white cardstock first. And I want to have a nice little pile of them. This way I can mass produce. So there we go. I've done just a little bit of pre-cutting here. I've cut a bunch of leaves and a bunch of flowers. So you can see I'm getting ready to make either, birthday cards or holiday cards or whatever I want to make. And I want to use this layering stamp set. And I don't want to have to think about it once I've lined it up the first time. So I have all my flowers and all my leaves that I'm going to make for my cards, that I'm going to use for my cards. Okay. Now the second part of this is to take a piece of a different color cardstock. In this case, I'm using the Dusty Rose again. And I am going to cut a couple of flowers here, a flower and a leaf. Now, because this flower and this leaf are 3-step stamps, I'm going to need to cut this 3 times. Okay, so these I can keep for some other kind of project that I want to do. And people always say to me, well, what are you going to do with pink? Well, what's kind of fun to do with pink is like to stamp the flowers in white on here, or maybe gold. And then, you know, you can make a pink and gold or pink and silver birthday card out of the flowers. So, okay, so I'm moving it up. Now I'm not going to do one here because I actually am going to use these as templates. So I want to kind of keep them separated so I can cut them out separately. Okay. All right. This is pretty easy. I think once you see how this works, you're going to be trying this with a lot of your layered stamps, and you're going to get more joy out of your layered stamps. Okay, I'm going to cut one more sequence up here. Okay. Thank you so much for all the compliments on our dies. We actually took a long time to find the right die manufacturer. You guys know we do get our dies manufactured in China, but one of the things that was really important to us was that the people that worked there were getting good wages, that it was a good facility, and we did a lot of research. And one of the things that we love about our die manufacturer is they are willing to detab our dies for us. Detabbing means that all of the dies come cut apart already. So when you get our dies, they're not all together with those little spokes. And you'll notice it's very difficult to find where they cut those spokes off because they have a certain way that they do it and machinery that they do it, that there's nothing sharp left behind. And I love that. I love that for all of us because I've cut myself enough with the other kind. Okay, so now I'm going to put this die cutting machine away, get it out of here. And now we're going to go on to our next step. So our next step is to use the MISTI. I do recommend you need to use a stamping platform for this technique. But I'm telling you, having a MISTI or some kind of stamping platform is such a dream when it comes to layered stamps because you're going to be able to mass produce these in 3 easy steps. And once you get it set up, it's set up and you can really, really go. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock and I'm going to put this into my MISTI. Now, I do not want this white cardstock to shift. This is very important. So I'm not going to just throw my magnet on there. I'm going to tape it down. So I'm going to tape it on the side here. I'm going to tape it here on the side up onto the edge. I just don't want it to move. And I'm going to put a little bit of tape down here and a little bit of tape up here. Okay, I just don't want it to move, so I'm being extra, extra careful. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find 3 separate spots on this piece of white cardstock to lay down my stamped images. You don't have to worry that they're in certain corners or anything like that. That can be difficult to do. So I'm going to put this flower here. I'm going to put this flower here. And I'm going to put this part of the flower up here. Now I've got 3 leaves as well. So I'm going to put 1 leaf here. I'm going to put 1 right here. And I'm going to put 1 up here. These are all the parts of my layering stamps. All right. Now, I mean, it can be more like that, you know, if you want it to be more consistent to the shape, the angle that you're working on, that's fine. But don't worry about it if you have to like put things in weird spots. I have a little sliver of paper on this. Let me get that off. There we go. Okay. So now I've got these all in position. And I'm going to pick them all up with the door of my Misty. And these stamps are not going to leave the door of your Misty. They're going to stay on the door. They're going to live there. And that's where they're going to be. Now let's start with the flowers. Okay. I'm going to pick 3 colors. And the colors that I've picked are Sea Glass, Blue Lagoon, and Tranquil Teal. Because I'm going to make some turquoise flowers first. Now, the nice thing is you can do 3 or 4 turquoise flowers, and then you can clean the stamps, leaving them in the same position. And then you can do 3 or 4 purple ones. You can do 3 or 4 red ones. This is, as long as you just leave everything the way it is. So we'll start with this color, and maybe we'll do something in like the deeper blues as well. Okay. Alrighty. So now I'm going to start with my lightest color on my biggest flower, and that's going to be Sea Glass. So I'm going to stamp the flower in Sea Glass. Okay, there we go. I'm going to use my Chucky tool to get some good pressure. And everything's in place. I'm going to stamp it again, just to make it nice and dark. And you can do that because this cardstock is not moving, and you can get that extra layer of color. Okay, now I'm going to use my next color on my second biggest stamp, the one with the second biggest amount of detail. And I'm going to do that in Blue Lagoon. So I'm going to ink that up and stamp that. And if you want, you can stamp it a second time to really get the color. Okay, so there's my Blue Lagoon. Now, my third color is going to be Tranquil Teal, and that's my darkest color, and I'm going to stamp that up here on the one that has the most detail. Now, it's a little hard to see. I don't know, maybe if this helps to see that stuff better. Maybe it does. Okay. Tranquil Teal, and we'll stamp that up here. Okay. So I'm going to hold off on doing any of the leaves. I'm going to get all my flowers done first, and then I'm going to go back and do my leaves. So now I am going to take one of my templates, and I'm going to cut right around the perimeter of the template. And you can see I'm not making this square. I'm making this kind of close to the edge. Not super close, but close enough that since I stamped my flower very close to the edge, it needs to fit, and I don't want it to hang outside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the perfect spot so that it all looks perfect. Okay. All right, see how that looks really nice? I got a nice edge there. Okay. So I'm going to take some of this washi tape. I'm going to put that exactly where I want it so that it's centered. And I've got the nice white edge around the outside and it's all even. I'm going to tape this down in a couple spots. Okay. There we go. So there you can see that is perfect, right? It's beautiful going around the outside. Now I'm going to do the next one. Same way. Hopefully I have enough room on this next one. I cut this kind of close. Okay, let's see how this looks. Okay. I stamped this one really close here. I can get it even closer on this side. Okay. So now what I'm doing here is I'm kind of looking at it and I'm making sure that it looks centered, as if that flower behind there was white. See how easy that is? Now, I like that position. I don't want to lose that position, so I'm just going to put my magnet on that for a second while I get some washi tape. And then I'm going to tape that down there, and I'm going to tape it down up here. So that looks pretty good, huh? Pretty centered. Let's pull this one up. Okay. Looks pretty centered, right? Okay. And you do want to take your time with this part. If you don't feel like it looks centered enough, go ahead and, finagle it so that it looks exactly the way you want it to look. There we go. I think that looks good. All right, now we have one more here. And we're going to do the same thing on this last one. Now, the first time you do this, it takes some time. But remember, you can reuse these templates over and over again. And it doesn't matter where you put it the second time because you're just going to reposition the template. All right. And now I'm going to position this one where I think it looks good. Now, sometimes you have to just move it around a little bit until you find the right spot, the way the die is supposed to look. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to put my magnet down there. And again, I'm going to get some tape and tape this down. Okay. One more little piece. All right. So now I've got my templates ready to go. So now I have all my flowers, right? So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to find the way it fits right into that template. Now I'm going to use my sea glass ink, and I'm going to stamp right on that flower. Okay. Now that flower is going to come up because it sticks to the stamp. Now I can put it back in there, and I can stamp it a second time if I want it darker. See how easy and perfect it's stamped on there? I've got my first layer, and it's perfect. Okay, now I'm going to do another one. Each one of these flowers is a separate card because I'm going to do a big flower with a couple of leaves and then a big greeting. So I'm just stamping the first layer. Put it back there again. Get a nice second impression because I want it to be a little darker. Here's my second one. I'll do one more. So you kind of get the feel for how quickly you're doing this layer. And again, it's perfectly centered, which is always the bummer when you have created this perfect design and then you don't cut it out straight and it cuts off some of the petals or something like that. Nothing looks more polished and professional than having your stamped image dead center in your die cut. Okay, there we go. So now we've got 3 of them. See how quick and easy it was to stamp those? The little bit of prep work, exactly. The little bit of prep work is so worth it. Okay, so now I'm going to clean that stamp. I'm not going to move it because now I can go back and do this same thing again in purples or in pinks or in reds. So now we're going to move to our second image. So I'm going to pop this into the template again, find the right spot. That's not it. You'll know when it's not it. You'll have to turn it to find it. It's like doing a puzzle. It'll fit right in there perfectly once you find the right spot. Now the second image is up here. You have to remember it's not going to be over here. It's going to be up here, right? And we're going to do this one in Blue Lagoon. And there we go. See how perfect that is? This is going to save you so much time mass producing these kinds of cards, and you don't have to worry that you're going to keep messing up. Because once you just take that little bit of time to set it up, it'll be perfect every time. There we go. And we'll do one more, because why not? Why not make 3? Okay, and stamp. There we go. Perfect every time. I know I keep saying it, but it's always a little bit like a wow to me when I see it and it looks good. It's like, oh, yay. All right, so now we're going to do the final one, and we're going to add these Tranquil Teal little elements. I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see it a little closer. Hopefully that's not blurry. Shouldn't be. Does it look okay, Tom?
Looks fine.
Okay. So I want to find the right spot again. What am I doing here? There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to use the Tranquil Teal just on those details and stamp the details on there. Have fun. Especially the details, you know, like they're a little more tricky because they're more delicate. And it's amazing, even when it's not quite a symmetrical flower like this one is, like the layering poinsettia, it's still really easy to see because you've got the whole outline in white and you can kind of see where it's supposed to be. Okay. It's funny, once you get it like in the right position the first time, then the others seem to snap right in. It's like you know what you're feeling for or something. Okay, here we go. All right. Now it's time to do the leaves. So let's do a few leaves. All right, I need a couple of greens. So I'm going to get my ink cubes into the mix here. I've got all my ink cubes everywhere, and don't even like, you're probably going to gasp when you see how out of order they are. Here's grass green and fresh asparagus and jelly bean green. Those are 3 good layering greens for these leaves. So we'll do that. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. And even if you don't mass produce, I see what you're saying, Alicia, you don't mass produce, it does help to take the little bit of extra time for the layering pieces. And sometimes with flowers, even if you're not making all the same card, it's still nice to be able to make lots of floral elements and put them aside and then do all different kinds of cards with those pieces. So we'll start with the lightest green, and this is the jelly bean. And we'll stamp that here. See, I'm not even cleaning the other stamps. They're not going to stamp in some weird spot, right? They're not going to damage my template. And now I'm going to do grass green on this one because this is a little darker. Let me do another layer of grass. Okay, it's just a hair darker. And then my final one is going to be the fresh asparagus. So that's this tiny one up here. Do a little bit more of that. I haven't really stamped these stamps a whole lot, so, you know, I test them when I first get them, but they're not always perfect. I mean, they're always perfect, but they're not always conditioned enough when I do them the first time on a live. Okay, so now we've got our 3 little templates here. The other thing I like about this is I end up using scissors, and I don't use scissors enough, and there's something very elementary school about getting my scissors out and playing, and I love that feeling. Okay. So we need to have a couple leaves for these. All right. So we'll position the first one right there. And you can see how, I mean, like even something as small as this leaf, it's a little tricky sometimes cutting them out. They shift in the die cutting machine. So if you don't use one of the template techniques, even though the dies are just fine and you can see through them, things still kind of shift. All right, so there's one. Now we're going to do the same thing, and we want to move this up a little bit. We don't want it right there. Although you could do it right there if you wanted it right there. You kind of decide how you want your leaves to look. I like these leaves. They look like Star Trek to me. Do you get that, Tom? Little Star Trek leaves.
Star Trek leaves, yes.
All right, and then we'll do this one here. Move this one down a little bit. Okay. So now we've got our 3 green templates ready to go. We've got a whole bunch of leaves, and we can pop a leaf in and we can get started. So I'm starting with Jelly Bean Green. There we go. Pop that into the next one. And I can leave that there. And that's ready for the next one. Now, I could stamp them at the same time if I wanted to mess around with more than one ink. But honestly, the way my brain works, I will most likely put the wrong color. So I definitely don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do maybe... There is a top and a bottom to this leaf. And you'll feel it. And once it sinks down into that template, it's hard to get out. But it sticks to the stamp, so that makes it, well, it didn't that time. But sometimes it does. It makes it a little easier to get it out. It's upside down. Alicia hand drew all of these, so she doesn't use a computer when she does these. And so they are hand drawn. So there is a difference between the top and the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do just a couple more, just so we have them. I mean, I might as well, because we've got all these flowers. And again, it's just kind of a reminder of the technique. But it's kind of fun to see the layers come to life. Do one more. Yeah, it really makes layered stamps easy. And even some of the more complicated layered stamps, you're able to see, based on that large cutout, where they line up in the big picture. Okay. Now, let's go to the next color. We'll pop this in here and we'll get some grass green on this one. Let's see what that looks like. It's a subtle difference between these two colors, but I like how it's just soft. I mean, you definitely see the difference, right? Okay. What a nice day. We're having beautiful weather here in Wisconsin today. I'm trying not to say anything because I don't want to mess it up, but it's like 60 degrees today. Isn't that crazy? In November, it was snowing over the weekend. So that's how erratic we are up here. We can have 3 seasons in one day in Wisconsin. Yes, a Misty is a great thing to put on your Christmas list if you don't have one, because there's so many techniques you can do. Okay, I've got lots of leaves here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and do one more flower in the darker blues when I'm done this. This way, hopefully I'll get to make 2 cards today and we'll give them both away and there'll be different color combos. Okay, so now we have those done. And now we're going to do that last color in Fresh Asparagus. There we go. Last little color. And this one you can definitely put them all toward the edge, or you can kind of layer them the way I did, where they go toward the center more of the leaf. It's a very whimsical design that Alicia did. We wanted it to look similar to a poinsettia, but we didn't want it to be a poinsettia because we wanted to be able to use this anytime. We wanted it to be kind of a modern day daisy or a sunflower for the fall. So she did it in a very modern style, and it definitely is a little Trekky. Should have called them Star Trek flowers. I did call them star flowers, so it's kind of close. Okay, there we go. Now let's do the one more flower. Welcome, welcome everybody who's just joining us. It's so great to have you here. Got a lot of people here today. All right, we're going to do our last flower, and let's try some blues. I pulled some blues here that I thought would be pretty. I thought it'd be nice to do powder blue. I never use this color. I mean, it's a gorgeous color. It's not that I don't love it. It's that I forget that we have it. So I thought it'd be a nice one to use. It is a gorgeous blue. Isn't that pretty? It's almost got a hint of periwinkle in it. You can give it a second layer. Let's go. Okay. Love that one. Now we'll pop it in this template. And we will add some, let's clean that. We will add some blue denim on top of that. You're relaxing, everybody, Tom.
It's crafternoon.
Crafternoon with Tom. Okay, there's that color. So pretty together. And then we'll put this in the, see now this template I have turned differently. So let's find the right spot for this one. There we go. Okay. And this one I'm going to do within the navy, so the darkest color. See how that shows up. Could do black too. Or you could do, at this point, you could do embossing in watermark ink, and then you could emboss these little details in silver. Oh, that's pretty. That really came out pretty. And I'm just going to use my craft pick to pull that up. There we go. So you can see the difference here in the blues and then in those turquoises. The blues are yummy, I agree. Okay, so let's make a couple of quick cards out of these. And I'm going to just leave this template all together because I may make more cards later today. Okay. So now we've got some leaves and some flowers over here. So I think the next thing I want to do is I want to use one of these, the die plates, and I'm going to use this one here. This is our basket weave die plate. I'm going to cut this out in white, and I'm going to cut two of them. So I'm making two of the same card, different color combinations. Okay. So I will start by cutting one, and I'm cutting it blade side up just because I want all the details to come through, and for some reason blade side up works better. This is, we got it going through. Okie dokie. So here it is, and we'll just shake out. They're all over me. And then if there's any that you can't get out, just take your craft pick and just pop them out. There we go. Okay, so I love this die plate. That was kind of messy. I normally would do that over the trash can, but I wanted you to see what I was doing. So I think they're in my hair too. Let me clean this plate off real quick. Here I come. Now we're going to cut another one. And don't forget, before you cut these, it is a good idea just to make sure if there's any little ones stuck in there that you just use the holes in the back to get those out. It'll cut a little bit better if they're not all clogged up. Okay, we'll cut a second one. Bernie, the gnomes are no longer available. That was a product that I designed for ThermoWeb, and they had a limited run, and then after they sold out, we did one more limited run, and now they're gone. So sorry about that. I don't know if they've got any left, but you could check over there. I don't think they have gnomes left. They may have some of the add-on set left. So again, I like to just tap it a little bit, a few times over the trash can or whatever. And then whatever doesn't come out, I just take my craft pick. If you don't have a craft pick, you can use a pin, straight pin for this. And they just fall right out. Okay, so now I have 2 of those. Now, I'm going to cut a couple more things while I have the die cutting machine here. I'm going to cut a Tranquil Teal panel using the Master Layouts 2 die set, just the one that isn't stitched, because that's going to be the perfect layering panel for any of our die plates. So if you have Master Layouts 2, you already have the perfect background panel. You know how I like the little shadow layer? Well, I like the little shadow layer on these as well. So you can see that is the perfect size to create a little shadow layer on there. And then all that color comes through, which I love. Then I'm going to do one in blue denim for my other flower. Oh, you've used a toothpick, Dolores, to get your die pieces out of the plates and stuff? That's a great idea. Yeah, before you get a craft pick, if you don't have one, that works. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I'm also going to do a little oval because I want to ground these images and have a place to stamp my greeting. So I think I'm going to use these oval sets, and I think this will be a nice size where the flower can extend a little bit onto the outside of the oval, and then I have room in here to stamp one of the greetings from that stamp set. So I think I want to do like happy birthday to you and love you, because these aren't going to be holiday cards. If I wanted them to be holiday cards, they could be poinsettias, and I could use a small Christmas greeting. So I'm going to use the single stitched and the double stitched. The single stitched I'm going to cut using that same blue denim. So it'll kind of match my background a little bit. And then I'm going to need to cut one in Tranquil Teal as well. Okay. Tom, are you wearing your cowboy hat today? They want to know. So yes.
No, I am not. I've got my other headphones on and it doesn't fit great. So
It doesn't fit on the big headphones? So now I'm going to cut one of these out in white. This is my grounding panel that I'm going to stamp my greeting on. Oh, how do you... Well, there's really... I'm not sure what your question is, Lena. you want to know about preventing cut lines transferring into the new cuts. I see what you're saying. You might just have too much pressure on your machine. I don't know if your machine comes with a shim, but you might want to try it without the shim and see if you have better luck that way, not getting those transfer marks from the marks that are already in your plate. I know what you're saying. I'm not having that. And you can see I have lots of cut marks in my plate, but I'm not getting any transfer marks in my die cut. So it might just be that there's too much pressure. Not 100% sure though. But that's a good place to start. Look at this mess I've got here. This looks like Jennifer Maguire's craft room floor. She's showed pictures of that. I'll put this all in a trash can here, or you can save these and use them for confetti. Especially if you cut something like this out of a fun background or gold glitter paper or something, you definitely could use all that for fun shaker card fill. Okay, that's really saving cardstock, like to a ridiculous level. So I've got some pieces of white cardstock here, and I'm going to make 2 quick card bases, and then we'll assemble these cards. Okay, so somebody had a great suggestion where they put a very thin piece of paper on the plate to kind of shield those marks from getting onto your die cut. So you could try that. It would have to be a pretty thin piece, maybe a piece of copy paper or something. That might work. Great suggestion. I love how our community comes together. Okay, so this first one, I am going to use tape. It's going to be a mess. I'm just going to go right up this whole thing. Like that. And then I'm going to lay that right on top. You could glue this too if you want to not have so much tape going on. But that's pretty easy. There we go. And then that will go right onto my card base. I love this plate. And if you get any glue on the surface of it, that's where I take my mono sand eraser, like any tape, and you can just get that right off. Actually, our tape kind of rubs right off too with your finger if you're using the Gina K Designs tape, which I think that's really a great attribute to the product is that it just, the glue just rubs right off. The tape, rather. Okay. All right. And so this I'm going to put onto my white card base. And then we'll make the blue one. Tom, I had big dreams of making like 47 cards in this video, and that did not work out.
There's still time.
There's not that much time. I love this cover plate too. I saw somebody in our group made the most beautiful card. They cut this out of a bunch of different colors, and then they went back in and they filled in all the pieces with different colors, and it was amazing. I'm sure it was time consuming, but what a great mojo starter. Like if you just want to sit and just have a, just a relaxing time with glue and paper. And she made some amazing backgrounds, just filling these all in different colors. All the stuff that I just threw in the trash can, she kept. But hers were all different colors. Okay, so there we go. So there's the dark blue one. So we've got the teal one and the dark blue one. That's dirty. I'll get a new piece of that. I feel like you can see things a little bit better on this color than on my gray. Okay, so we'll adhere these two together and we'll pop that into this card. I love this Tranquil Teal. Again, there's certain colors that I just love, but I always forget that I have them. So that's going to go in the center there, and then we are going to do our flower. And we can add some of these leaves to here. And then we'll stamp the greeting right here. Okay, so let's do the same thing with this one. Missed this spot. There we go. Where there's a will, there's a way. Or what did my mom always say?
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
It's so funny. My mom was funny. All right, so let's go ahead and stamp the greetings on here. So I think to be really super safe, I was going to use the Misty, but my Misty's tied up right now. So I will use an acrylic block, and I'm going to use this tiny little happy birthday to you and some black ink. My mom was a card. She was very funny. She always had something to say. Make you laugh. All right, I'm going to stamp this first. I'm going to give it a test run here just to make sure I can stamp it straight. Okay, that's pretty straight. Okay, so we'll stamp this one. We'll make these 2 birthday cards. Or we could use the love you. I do love that love you greeting. So we'll stamp this down here. Okay. And then we'll do the love you. This is so different than doing pre-recorded videos because I told you guys I seriously don't know what I'm going to do when I come into the room. I know what technique I want to teach, but I often don't know what the card is going to look like. And sometimes it looks great and other times, but it's always fun. And that is the whole point of stamping, is to have fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. It shouldn't be stressful. There's like sticky stuff on here and I keep moving it. And my greeting is crooked. What?
How does it get stressful? How do you think that happens?
Stamping gets stressful? I think stamping gets stressful when you start comparing your work to other people's work, or you start to worry about every little thing not being perfect, because it's not going to be perfect because it's homemade. And I think it becomes stressful to some people. And we have to remember that this is supposed to be a fun activity. All right, so I'm going to tape this right to my card, and then I'm going to pop up the flower. So I'm going to use some white foam squares.
There's an exercise for songwriting that I heard about where they say sit down and try to write the worst song ever written.
Oh, yeah?
And you'd be surprised sometimes, without any of that pressure to write the best song, you come up with some neat, funny things.
Really? Like how good it actually turns out?
Yeah. I don't know if that applies to card making, though.
I bet it does. Sit down and try to make the worst card ever. Oh my gosh, what if you achieve? Well, then at least you have achieved.
I probably have achieved along those lines.
Have you written some of the worst songs ever?
Yes.
Well, go you. Congratulations. Let's put these over here on this side, since I put it down crooked.
There are some pretty bad songs out there, though.
It's true, there are. And we could always embellish this a little bit too by adding some sequins in the center, or just some little sequins down here. Maybe I'll do that later. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. Yeah, it's super clean and simple, this card. But, you know, sometimes that's perfect for mass producing for the holidays. You just need to get some nice cards out. try to center this one a little better. Or maybe I won't. Maybe my goal will be to make the most crooked card ever, and I can achieve.
Is it better than horrible?
That's all that matters. Okay, so question. Does anybody want a t-shirt that says better than horrible? Because I do, and I have to make more than just one if I want them. So what do you guys think? Would you wear a t-shirt that says better than horrible? You would, wouldn't you, Tom?
I lived that life, so it's only natural.
All about that life, that better than horrible life. Okay, so we've got just a few minutes left. Let's add a few little sequins on here, just because it would be cute. Everybody's going yes for the t-shirt. We're gonna do it. We gotta do it. We can be a crazy crew all together wearing our t-shirts during the lives. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little dot of glue here, and one here, and one here. Same here, one up there.
Keep our standards doable. This brings to mind another of your mother's sayings.
What was that?
We've upped our standards, now up yours.
Oh my God, I remember her saying that. I love that. It's so funny. So I used a bigger sequin there, and then I used two little ones. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Oh, maybe that should be a t-shirt. Okay. So I think that does it. That gives it just a little bit of sparkle. People are laughing at my mom. And there, a birthday card and a love you card. All right. And, if you really wanted to jazz it up, you could take one of these big sequins and do it right in the center, which, that really looks pretty. I have to do that. Sorry, guys. I'm not done. Thought I was done. Not done. Got to add the big one in the center. Okay. Especially these disco ball sequins. They are absolutely my favorite because they pick up whatever color card you're using. If you were doing a red card, these would all have a reddish tint to them. And now they all have this kind of bluish glow. So that really makes a difference. I love that. Okay. All right, Tom, why don't you and I get in the scene here? We've upped our standards, now up yours. I love it. All right. So let's think. What are we going to do? We're going to give these cards away. So let's start with the turquoise version of this card. Tom, you're going to have to pick some names.
Okay, one moment here.
All right. You can see that. I'll show you up close there. Is that pretty with the sequin? That really makes a big difference. Love that. And this one here, same thing. Which one do you like better, guys? Do you like the dark, like the blues or the turquoise ones? Which ones do you guys like? I don't know which one I'm leaning to. Now I want to see it in pinks. I want to see it in purples. I want to see it in reds, oranges. It would be beautiful for like fall colors, And so easy. Remember how easy this template is to set that up. You set it up, you make a million of them, and then just put them away. And you can use them for cards whenever you need something quick. All right.
All right, let's rock on this crafternoon.
Getting a lot of blues. People are liking the blues. Okay, so we'll give away this turquoise one first. The Tranquil Teal turquoise combo.
All right, drum roll, please.
Hear it? I know it's there.
All right, first card goes to Annie MC. Annie MC.
Yay, Annie! Congratulations, Annie. Yay, Annie. So Annie, you get the turquoise one. All right, and who gets the blues? Powder blue, denim, and in the navy.
And the blue, the beautiful blue, goes to Marlene Miller. Marlene Miller.
Hey, Marlene. Congratulations. Congratulations. All right, Annie and Marlene, you guys know what to do. Send your name and address to info@ginakdesigns.com. Let them know whether you won the turquoise or the blue, and they'll let me know, and I'll get those cards out to you. If you've won a card and you still haven't received it yet, I usually wait until I get about 4 or 5 of them ready to go, and then I send them all at once. So sometimes it takes me a week or two to get them out, but they're coming. All right, everybody. Well, I hope that you had a good time today. We certainly did. I hope that you like this technique, and it's one that makes your life a little bit easier going forward when it comes to both die cutting and layering your stamps. Tom and I will be back next Monday night with another live video, and I'm going to try like heck to get another 5-minute card video out for you for the weekend. So in the meantime, we love you all so very much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.